Okay, so now we're going to talk about just legalese, so to speak. Basically, since 2005, I've ran at varying levels a legal services company, sometime managing upwards of 1,000 cases a month. For a time in 2013, 2014, we were handling my legal services company was handling about 1,000 cases per month all around the nation, mostly in family law, but in other areas of law as well. So after a while, you get to learn. I also attended law school, and so on and so forth. Some of my friends are actually professors in various law schools around the country, as well as various low-level universities. None in the Ivy League, unfortunately. Other friends handling mergers and acquisitions from the largest companies on the face of the planet. With that being said, fairly simple legal rules apply in some scenarios involving common practice laws. In other words, there's a legal term called common pathways or common use of pathways. In other words, where, let's say, an area has a pathway that's been used by the citizens of that area for upwards of a certain set number of days, months, years on an infinitum, and it's commonly understood that it's allowable to walk along those paths. With that being said, if an individual, if the state or the city wanted to target a single individual, they would technically be attempting to target or sue the entire population of people that are using that path. In other words, to stop the usage of a common pathway. So it's a simple legal term. I forget the exact legal term regarding common use or common practice principles with a similar area. So for example, let's say it's technically against the law to, walk with your shoes untied or something like that in some ridiculous law that exists for the safety of not only the individual but also the community at large. Technically, if you're walking with your shoe untied, it's technically considered deemed unsafe for that individual because you could trip, you could step on your own shoestring and fall over. So an officer of the law could come along and say, you have to tie your shoes because you're putting yourself in danger or harm's way. Now, it would be technically slightly ridiculous for taxpayers to pay for various enforcers of laws if that's how ridiculous they are. And especially if it's deemed or actually openly admitted that the officer was targeting or the enforcer of law was targeting a certain individual for whatever reason with admission. Then you'd have to, a decent, good lawyer. By the way, if anybody wants my legal services, I give my advice basically for free. I won't be disbarred because I haven't taken the bar, nor do I plan to. So, you can pay me whatever if you want my legal advice. These kinds of things are relatively easy for me for the most part, but sometimes it takes a while for me to think about the case. They have similar laws regarding these common practices. So for example, like traffic laws, if you're driving the course of down the freeway and the traffic is bearing 10 to 12 to 13 miles over the speed limit, and you're not traveling at the pace of traffic, a certain set number of cars, let's say 10, 15, 20 cars going at that speed, you almost have to go that fast or else you're actually putting yourself at risk at that point. Same thing with going too slow. So it's called, I don't know the specific legal term, but it's called common use or common practice of the people at the specific moment in time. Now, if somebody wants to go ahead and target an individual because they're technically violating the law, that would be up to them. Now, if it's constantly done, that's technically bordering on what's called harassment, and that's actually a violation of, I don't know what a violation of federal law or state law or something along those lines. Now, if there's an admission of that, that's fine. I don't know what the consequences would be. Now, with that being said, if it's a common practice for people to ride their bicycles with, let's say, if you're supposed to wear a helmet and you're not wearing a helmet, if that would be like it's technically a violation of law not to be wearing your helmet, but 99.9% of the individuals riding a bicycle would not be wearing a helmet. Therefore, what are you supposed to do? Are they all deemed as, violators? On ad infinitum. These laws were also applied in general to the entire United States of America in 2019 to 2020 when the population of the United States were forced to wear something over their face when entering other public places or even going to the workplace on ad infinitum. So these were called, so in other words, it's called common practice or common use. I forget the exact legal term. I couldn't find it. But the point is that it would be slightly ridiculous. So although, let's say if you're in violation of something small, like your shoes untied while you're walking down the sidewalk, and somebody says, hey, look, you're putting your life at risk, or yourself at risk by walking down the road with your shoe untied because you might fall over. And the person says, who are you to tell me that? And I said, well, look, I'm telling you this, that, or the other. And so, but anyways, until next time, over and out.